Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaakira and this video is going to be a lot different than what I usually do here. This year I just want to get more so into different things that I'm interested in and show my interest actually on this channel. So basically what I had the idea for is I don't want to call it a book review, but just a sit down and talk about a book that I've read. And I figured why not start with the one book that I finished this year, January. This is Verity by Colleen Hoover or Colleen Hoover. This is the second book I've read of hers. The first was It Ends With Us. I love that book. Say what you want, but I love that book. Now, I would do a sit down and talk about that one, but to be honest, I kind of forgot a lot of the major story points. So here's my issue. I will read a book, love the book, and then if you ask me 2 weeks later what the book was about, I've probably already forgotten. So I thought that these little, series would be beneficial to me as well to remember what happened in a book. So I think I'm gonna call it Bedtime Stories with Shaakira or something like that. We'll think of a name. So let's talk about it. And this is also like, if you haven't read the book, you can listen to this. I mean, you're definitely gonna have like some spoiler alerts in here. So I mean, this whole video is a spoiler. But sometimes people want to hear what happens and then they'll go read it. If you're one of those people, more power to you. So basically, this book starts with our main character. She is an author and she's on the way to a meeting. Before she even gets to the meeting, it's like something very tragic happens in front of her, and she meets this guy who like helps her just come to terms with this thing that they both witnessed, and they end up in the same meeting together. So kind of making a long story short on that part, he ends up being the husband of an author, a best-selling author. She has written like these series of books. She's really popular. If I had to liken her to anybody, I would say she's maybe like whoever wrote 50 Shades of Grey, like how popular that series was. I would maybe say the author is like that, right? So they end up in this meeting. She's basically hired to finish the author's books because she has this deal with her publishing company. She cannot finish writing the rest of the books that she has to write for the series because her twin daughters passed, and now she's like out of it. Like something happened to her too. She got in a car accident and she's like out of it, right? So they hire, what is her name? Lowen. They hire Lowen to finish off this series. In order for Lowen to go and finish this series, she has to go to the author's house, where it's the author who is, again, she's out of it, right? Like she is alive, but she's not like coherent, I'll say. She's like not coherent. Like she's here, but she's not here, right? And so she has to go to their house, the house of the author, her husband, and they have a little boy also. And then they have like a nurse who comes and helps with the author, like feed her, change her, bathe her, etc., etc. She goes to the house. It's a beautiful house, kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's only the house there. And so she finds out that one of the twins passed at a sleepover because she was allergic to peanuts. Some kind of way she had an allergic reaction to peanuts and she passed. The second twin passed in a boating accident behind the house. Like there's a lake behind the house. And so what makes the story so interesting is that while she is getting ready to finish this series for the author, she feels like remember, the wife is here, but she's not here. But she feels like she is seeing her move, or like seeing her look at her when she's supposed to be kind of like spaced out. But when she says something, people are like, oh, like, girl, you tripping. She's not here. While Lowen is doing her research on this series so she can finish writing the rest of the books, she comes across an autobiography written by the author herself. She starts reading it and she realizes that the author, in the autobiography, she's telling like the life story of her and her husband. She talks about when they find out that they're having the twins and how she does some like really bad things to try to get rid of the pregnancy. because she was so hung up on just having a life with her and the husband. Like, she loved this man almost to a, I hate to use the word crazy, but like to a crazy point. Like, she felt like the twins were going to take away from her husband's love for her, and that the way he loved them was not going to be the way that he loved her. So she wanted to get rid of the twins. So then she finds out, I think they're like a year old, the twins. She ends up liking one twin more so than the other. And all of this, she's like putting all of it in the autobiography. And Lauren is reading this, but she's not telling anybody that she's reading this. And so she starts thinking to herself, and so when the first twin passed from the peanut allergy, she despised the other twin because she felt like the other twin had something to do with it, and she blamed her. So she ends up taking her on a boat with their little boy because she had to make it look like an accident. Taking them on a boat, the remaining twin and the little boy, and she intentionally flips the boat over. She saves the little boy, but her intention was for the other twin to, not be here either. So she swims to the shore behind the house, and she tells the little boy, like, go get my cell phone, call your dad, tell him there's an emergency, tell him to call 911, somebody needs to get here. So she had to make it look like she was so distraught that the other child was still out there, but she was like winded, so she wasn't gonna be able to save the girl in time. Y'all, Lowen is reading all of this, and so while all of this is happening, again, Lowen is seeing like little things happening with the author, like she's looking at her, or she's not where she's supposed to be. So it seems like she's faking it. And also Lowen and the husband are like falling in love with each other. I'm gonna breeze past some stuff because we need to get to the end of it. Near the end, Lowen tells the husband about the autobiography and about all of these terrible things the wife has done, and how she basically got rid of the other child, and that Lowen feels like now the little boy is in danger because there was an incident that happened with the little boy too upstairs. And mind you, the little boy is saying things like, mommy told me not to talk to you, mommy told me not to tell you her secrets and things like that. So that just confirms to Lowen, like, oh, this lady is faking it. Lowen tells the husband about the author being in her right mind and tells him about the autobiography. He loses it. So one day when he loses it, him and Lowen go upstairs where the author's room is, where she is like always in her bed, unless the nurse takes her downstairs or takes her outside or whatever. So they basically kill this lady. They get rid of this lady. And so they're like, okay, we have to make it look like we didn't, do this. So at the end, Lowen ends up pregnant. Her and the husband are now together. Her and the author's husband are now together. The author's passed, and they have a little boy, and also she's pregnant now. So they are selling the house, so they have a fresh start. What happened? Did the little boy go upstairs? The little boy went upstairs for something, and I think Lowen ended up going upstairs to what used to be the author's room, the ex-wife or past wife's room, the room she used to be in. Lowen sees a floorboard is kind of like not in place. So she looks in the floorboard and she finds this letter. The letter is basically the author writing to the husband saying, I want to apologize to you because I know that you won't believe me because you found the autobiography I wrote, but the autobiography was therapy for me, because in the author's books, those really popular books that she writes from the villain's perspective, which is not typical for like books. You usually get the hero's perspective, but she writes from the villain's perspective. So she felt like if she used that like method to help herself cope with the loss of the twins. So basically, it was all fake. Like everything she wrote in the autobiography was fake. She like made it up to help herself grieve. So the twin, like with the boating accident, it was actually an accident. And like everything was an accident. So she is, in order to save herself, because okay, y'all, so remember I said she got in a car accident, and the reason that she is like out of it is because of that accident. So basically, he caused the accident. The husband, he got in the car with her and wrecked the car, and then moved her body to the driver's side to make it look like she was driving the car and she just wrecked the car on her own account. But no, he wrecked the car. He was trying to kill the wife because he had found that autobiography and he thought that it was all true. Stay with me. So when she wakes up in the hospital, she was like in a coma. So he didn't get what he really wanted, which was for her to be out of here. But she wakes up in a coma, and when he came in the hospital room and saw that her eyes were open, she noticed that his fists were balled up, which to her signified that he was still mad at her. And she pretended like she was like incapacitated, like she was not cognizant of her surroundings. She wasn't aware, like she was here but she not here. And she was faking it until she could leave with the little boy, because she knew that if he knew that she was all right, he would try to kill her again. So Lowen finds the letter, and I think she ripped it up, and she goes to the car to leave. But the thing is, like, okay, so on one hand I was like, was it all fake? Was the autobiography really fake? And did she really just make all of those stories up to help herself grieve? If so, it was extreme, because you're also able to like read along with the autobiography as you're reading the story, which I thought was pretty cool while you're reading the book. It's like reading two books in one. And so I was like, did she really make it all up to help herself cope? Or did it really happen? So when you leave the book, you have that thought of like, who is right? Like, was the husband right, or was the wife right? And like, okay, at the end it says, and even if Jeremy was the husband. And even if Jeremy really was the reason for her wreck, I can't blame him. He believed Verity maliciously murdered his child. I can't even blame him for ultimately following through with her murder when he found out she had been deceiving him about her injuries. Any parent in his position would have done the same, should have done the same. We both believed in our hearts that she was a threat to us and to Crew. Crew was the little boy. No matter which way I look at it, it's clear that Verity was a master at manipulating the truth. The only question that remains is, which truth was she manipulating? The end. I loved it. I love the book. If you love like mysteries, if you love putting pieces together, I think you'll really love the book. And also, like, Jeremy kind of lied. He lied, because he was saying that he hired Lowen to finish the series for his wife because the wife was a huge fan of hers. Come to find out, the wife didn't even know who Lowen was. He had read Lowen's books and was a fan of hers and loved her writing. So he just lied and said, oh yeah, Verity's a huge fan of yours. Lying. So yeah, I thought that it was a good book. If you've read it, drop down in the comments so we can discuss further. If you have not read it, something to think about. If you like mystery, I think you'll like it. And of course, you don't have to buy it. You can check it out from your local library, because I am a strong supporter and proponent of using your local libraries. I hope you guys enjoy this new series. And I think that this will also help me stay on track for my reading goals of this year. And I hope that you guys will come along with me on this journey. Thank you, and I hope that you'll subscribe and stick around for more videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.